I don't know what
tutorial.
I'm doing.
Be like live. We'll do it live. We'll do it live on the air. A tutorial
Live.
for everyone to welcome Greg Bergman, and he as he tries to go full screen because he wants to see more Bergman.
Who needs more Bergman?
That's what he
Everyone
wants
needs more
on his screen.
Look,
I
let's
just want to
get something clear.
Thing.
Let's get something clear, Greg. On this show, you're actually not the boss, and therefore can't get the big square anymore. Let's get something straight.
No, it's always been you guys. You guys were always the bosses. I just want to stretch it out so that all three screens are like on the entire thing. And you would think I would know how to do something like this since I did send this for a little while, but I can't. I don't know what I'm doing.
That's all right.
Totally lost. Totally lost.
It is. Oh, I like that one. It is the late night happy hour. Brian Kamenetzky, Andy Kamenetzky, of course, joined tonight by Greg Bergman of 710 ESPN fame. It is the first time we've spoken to you in the year of our Lord 2021. How's it going for you?
It's it's been a year so far. Yeah. It's only 11 days, so it's.
Have you noticed a significant difference between 2020 and 2021 yet? I have not.
No. There's if anything, it's just gotten a little crazier. That's about how it is.
You know what's crazy though? Like, I mean, beyond just this year thus far does not seem to be settling down as I think everybody hoped. It dawned on me a few days ago when I was talking about this with Brian. We have been in this pandemic state for almost a year.
Yeah.
We are closing in on a year. It's been about 10 months. And we're almost at a year when we started even realizing that COVID could be a thing. Like it wasn't being taken seriously to the degree that it should have been, clearly in retrospect. But like we're basically at a year of coronavirus awareness, and like this year has both flown by.
How are you going to start Coronavirus Awareness Week?
What color is that? Like, what color do we put for coronavirus awareness? is that like a green? Like, what color do we put?
It is crazy, though. You're right, though. I mean, it is.
I believe it's like a puke-colored ribbon.
We're still not sure. I mean, I know we're going to get into baseball and a lot of the issues that baseball, is facing in terms of money, spending, all this other stuff. And part of the reason that they are where they are is they're still not entirely sure they're going to be fans in stands for like the World Series, even. Like there was still uncertainty about when people are going to be able to go see games. So, like, this is the world we live in right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was March 11th when we all kind of went inside, right? So we're 2 months away from just that, but
like mole people.
I was a mole person for the first like 6 months of the pandemic, but yeah, it's gonna be crazy because I know things are, especially at baseball games. I don't know. I'm still not ready to go into a baseball game. Are you guys ready to go into anything? Any type of sporting event?
I'm barely ready. Barely ready to go to Target.
Right. No, it's all delivered. Everything is delivered right now. Thank you very much.
I have yet to go to a game at Staples Center. I've debated it, but then it's funny. Like on one hand, I think it's weird to say this given everything the NBA is going through, but in terms of actually just going there to watch a game, given the way it's been described to me at Staples Center, Brian, for example, has been to one game. You have a very good shot at coming into contact with basically nobody.
Oh yeah.
If that's the way you play, I mean, you can really keep yourself separated. That being said, like in terms of risks of any type that feel necessary at all, or in the payoff feels so low for going to a game because I'm not going to have any more access to players than I would just doing the stuff over Zoom. I just don't feel like taking that type of even relatively small risk because I just don't see what the reward is.
Right. Well, so I don't know. I haven't gone to Staples Center either, but can you sit in the stands? Probably not.
No.
No, right.
You go.
So you have to sit in the back. So you have to sit in the back.
You sit in, like they have a ring of tables set up around the 100 level. So between the 100 level and like whatever the 200s is this ring of tables, and everybody has their own seat, and you're separated, and like you get there, and it's almost like you check into the hotel. There's like a little sign that says like, this space has been sanitized by Lou or whoever came by to do it. And you sit there and you don't go anywhere. And I went not because I wasn't worried about the risk. I went because I wanted to kind of see what that experience was like. And it is genuinely bizarre and kind of unsettling to be in an arena that big where it's supposed to have that many people in it, and there's nobody there. Like Andy said, I could have easily spent the entire time without passing 20 feet inside another person's orbit. Easy. It was weird. I mean,
the whole point of going is kind of talking to people and interacting with different people and getting the access to the players and, you know, the ambiance of the whole thing. And right now I just feel like why I don't have any desire to even go do that, because I'm not going to talk to anybody.
No, I mean, it's interesting because going to Ralph's, for example, or going to a supermarket, the risk factor there is likely higher than anything I would deal with going to Staples Center, but I have more of a direct need to actually go to a supermarket. Like, people in my family need to eat at some point, so I'm going to have to pick some stuff up. So there's certain things you do where you feel like the risk factor is definitely higher, but there's actually a reason to do it. Like, I don't have a reason to go to Staples Center to take in this thing. I feel like at this point I've watched enough games in empty buildings that I have an idea what it's like.
I did it once. Yeah. It was interesting. I don't need to do it again.
So the only reason I would go, though, is for their soft serve, because the soft serve there is delicious.
You're not allowed to eat in the there's no food in the building.
I know. There's no you can't even bring in your own
food. You eat outside in a tent.
Well, then I'm out. I'm totally out now. There's no reason.
With like a box lunch. No, there's none of that.
I'm going to jump out quickly, by the way, and come back in because I'm getting a bit of a sound crackle. So give me one second.
A sound crackle, eh?
Yeah.
So I was talking to Andy last week, and I'm like, hey, what should we do? Like, we have these production meetings. We take this very seriously. We have production meetings, and I'm saying, like, what should we talk about? I'm like, hey, you know, we should probably get somebody on to talk about the hot stove. And Andy, genuinely, not just because it's a pandemic and time is meaningless, as we've been discussing, says, is that happening right now? Because nothing has happened.
No.
Well, like I knew that, for example, and we're going to get into this, the Padres had made a few moves, and you know, I knew that obviously the Mets made a massive deal. What I didn't realize is, like, okay, because I've lost all sense of time and perspective. I'm like, oh, it's January.
That's hot stove, right? That's when it's supposed to be.
But like, I'm like, is it still hot stove? Has anything changed during the pandemic era? Like, does this all line up the same? What the hell are winter meetings at this point? Like, it didn't really dawn on me. Like, oh, we're doing that. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, the winter meetings used to be like the place to go to if you were if you were just trying to get into baseball. You went to the winter meetings and you tried to talk to everybody, and that's how you could somehow like get a job out of it. Now it's empty. I mean, this doesn't happen, and really nothing has changed besides, yes, the Padres did make a couple good moves, and the Mets made a fantastic move for Francisco Lindor, but we're only seeing really, really tiny things otherwise, and it's kind of crazy.
All right, let's because there are a few things we want to get to with baseball, including Tommy Lasorda and this money thing or whatever. But let's actually start with like the competitive stuff. So the Padres get Blake Snell and Yu Darvish. Right. They sign Ha-Sung Kim, who we know because Andy and I, like everyone, were huge fans of Korean baseball for 3 weeks last year.
And watched one game.
And unfortunately, he is not one of the people that I remember. I don't know if I saw any of his games. But like, you know, you add that to Machado and Tatis, and they've got, you know, Clevenger and Paddock, and like, how good is San Diego now? Are they better than the Dodgers? Close to as good as the Dodgers? What are we looking at here?
Let's just hold off for just a second.
Nice. Look at Bergman already getting upset. Just a question.
Dodgers, yes. The Padres are a good team. They were a good team last year, and yeah, they added some pitching, and they added good pieces. They did a good job of doing that. Mike Clevenger is still not going to pitch next year. He has an injury. He's going to be out. He has Tommy John. He's done for the year. Dinelson Lamet was their best pitcher last year, and he's kind of having some issues from what I'm understanding because he got injured right before the playoffs as well and didn't pitch in the playoffs. Adding Blake Snell and adding Yu Darvish is huge. I don't really think the Yu Darvish deal is going to make that much of a deal, not much of a difference. I think he can still be had. I understand him. I don't think that's going to make some gigantic deal like it did with the Cubs, where he was a Cy Young candidate. Blake Snell was really, really good, but like, let's think about this for just a second. He got pulled after 5 innings, even though he was pitching fantastically in the World Series, because there was a reason why he got pulled after 5 innings. That was where he belongs, where they've decided that he does not pitch well after 5 innings. And I mean, he gave up a hit to Austin Barnes, but I was afraid of him, not going to lie. But are they better than the Dodgers? No. The Dodgers just won the World Series. They're the best team in baseball. They've been the best team in baseball for the last couple of years. They're a really, really good team. Mookie Betts makes them that much better, and everybody's still there. They brought back basically everybody. And I mean, we're still waiting on Justin Turner, but if they don't bring back Turner, they'll bring somebody else in that's going to take over that spot, or they're going to bring somebody up to do it for him, and they're going to be just fine. That team, top to bottom, is the best team in baseball, and it's not going to change just because they signed a couple pitchers.
Go ahead.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. First of all, because Greg, as you know, I always do my baseball research and look up the numbers for you, because going back
Thank you.
3 or 4 years ago, you one time thought I was unprepared to talk baseball, and therefore I've since overcompensated every single time we were ever on. But I was looking up, there's a piece on MLB.com, and they pointed out at Fangraphs, Dan Simbarski ran the ZiPS projections. Yeah, he is a good writer. Taking into account the recent transactions of the Padres.
Old ZiPS projections.
The old ZiPS.
Usually pretty good. Those are good. Those are good projections usually.
I don't remember what ZiP stands for. But anyway, the results,
George Zip.
The results were a tie atop the NL West between the Dodgers and the Padres, both projected, Greg, to finish 98 and 64. 98 and 64.
The Dodgers still win over 100 games. But how many times have we seen a team go big?
You're like, first off, ZiPS is crap.
What a terrible projection that is. No, I mean, look, I understand the projection for them being good. They made good moves. But how many times have you seen a team go full out and just go bring in all these different pieces and really try and add to it and make it this great? They win the offseason, right? And then they're terrible. Or not terrible, but they're not as good as projected in the regular season. It happens all the time in basically every sport. You know how many times the Washington football team has won the offseason? It happens all the time. Boston Red Sox have done it plenty of times. They brought in Adrian Gonzalez and Carl Crawford and Adrian Beltre, and they made this whole all these great moves, right?
And that team ended up Dodgers. That team ended up Dodgers West.
Yep, sure did. And brought them all over, and the Dodgers got better, and the Red Sox, after getting rid of them, got better. So I mean, I understand the teams they did a good job of bringing these guys in. I need to see something actually happen. They're just, to me, they're on the same level as the Clippers right now, and that they look good on paper, but that's it. They're paper tigers, and I don't really think of anything more than that until I actually see it happen. I don't believe in it, and that's not just being a Dodger fan. I get it.
Okay, it's not just being a Dodger fan.
Explain the why. But before we have you explain the why, we may need you actually to come out and come back in, because we've isolated the crackle and it's you.
Oh, it's
we think you're actually the crackle.
Release the crackle, Greg.
Yeah, I want to know what Greg is basing this on, because this sounds, quite frankly, like Greg being a homer.
Oh, by the way, this is what I noticed before. Like, I have never really paid attention to what this hoodie looks like when it's on. This is like super giant Jedi hoodie. Look at that.
Oh, I actually before we came on, I was like, are you the Emperor now? What the
like? This is one of those hoodies that's so big you actually like. If I'm like Luke walking in, I have to use 2 hands to reveal myself as a Jedi. Is that better?
No, I hear the crackle still too, so it's probably still me. Do you still hear the crackle?
I wonder if it's the wireless.
Yeah, it's probably the wireless. I can find some. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know exactly like how good the Padres are and stuff like that. What I think is kind of fun about this is they've got fun young players, but this is one.
We haven't even said Fernando Tatis.
Right. We haven't even talked about Tatis or Machado,
who's amazing.
Yeah, he's super awesome. Like, he's a reason to watch baseball. And quite frankly, there aren't often many of those. It's one of those deals where you're pitting like it's you know what is and it's not, I'll wait till Greg gets back and ask him this question because on the one hand you look at it and you want to say it's the established brand versus upside because so much of of what the Padres put out there is really young, but the flip side of that is the Dodgers actually are a pretty young team.
Yeah,
the core of the like this is one of the things that when he comes back we'll ask him, but I don't get a sense that there's a lot of upset. There we go.
Is that better?
I don't hear any. Oh
yeah,
way better.
Yes,
way better. All right,
there you go.
All right, so I was just about to say this. So go back to Andy's question though. Re-ask your question. You got a bunch of stuff that we wanted to get into just off what you just said.
break down your rationale for thinking they're paper tigers that doesn't make you sound like a complete homer.
No, that's a great way to put it. But look, I understand because I'm going to say that they are a good team. They came into the postseason last year and they got swept out by the Dodgers. The Dodgers are bringing back every single player. Essentially, we don't know what's going to happen with Justin Turner, like I was saying, but they're all young. They're all under 30 years old for the most part, except for Clayton Kershaw. I mean, you have one of the best pitchers in all of baseball in tight games, in important games. Walker Buehler is the best big game pitcher in baseball, and that cannot be refuted. I'm sorry. Every game that he has been in, if you can go look at your numbers all you want. Walker Buehler gets it done.
Yeah, pull out your zip now, Andy.
Julio Urias came out and he showed you exactly what he was. Clayton Kershaw even looked better than he did last year. They're having Dustin May has all the stuff that you need from a big time pitcher. Even Tony Gonsolin, while he wasn't great in the postseason, has another year under his belt, still another young guy. Everybody is under 30 years old, including Mookie Betts, including Corey Seager, who, as we've talked about many times when I've been on the show with you before, that was probably the biggest pickup of the offseason, not named Mookie Betts, because a healthy Corey Seager. And he showed it by being the NL MVP, the NL championship MVP, and the World Series MVP. Cody Bellinger is still there, who was an MVP and just 2 years ago. This team is young, good at every single position. There's just no reason for me to think otherwise that the Dodgers are going to all of a sudden just fall apart.
Right, but that's not the same thing, though, as the Padres being paper tigers. There's a difference. The Dodgers can still be really good. The Dodgers can still be really good while the Padres are also legitimately really good. Like, both things can be true.
Sure, absolutely. And that's why I keep trying to clarify and say, yes, the Padres are a good team. They have a lot of good talent around them. They're
a fine and adorable little bunch of ball players.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. They are a fine, adorable bunch of little ball players that until they get out of the division series mean nothing to me. I'm sorry. I still believe in the Dodgers. I still believe that team is better than every other team in baseball.
I will say this, and I do think it's an important point because I was about to say to Andy that this is one of those classic examples of like upside versus the established brand. But the problem with that is, and you touched on it, the Dodgers actually also have upside left. Like Walker Buehler can get better. Seager can get. Bellinger was not particularly good last year. Nope. And if he bounces back to something like he was 2 years ago, that's like trading for another player. And so, the Dodgers are a rare team that by doing nothing, coming off a World Series, still have upside. That's not normal.
No. And the offseason isn't even over yet. Trevor Bauer could still be got. They could still get DJ LeMahieu, who they're in talks with. There's still plenty of people for them to still, if they really wanted to go out and spend money, they very well could. How firm are they on the 210, the 200, not crossing that threshold, do you think?
I
mean, I don't think, why should they right now? Because it wouldn't be back-to-back years. They just won a World Series. They can go out and they can spend as much money as they really want to. And they're still all very young. Besides it, it's all homegrown. So they're not really going out and getting too much outside of Mookie Betts they spent a lot of money on. But I just feel like this might be the year that they can go out there and actually spend a little bit and go a little bit over that and then try and go just below it again after the year after that because they won't be there's no repeater tax. They're below it.
Right.
Justin Turner has obviously meant a lot to the Dodgers, but he's not like Clayton Kershaw. in terms of what he's meant to the organization. Kershaw is going to end up a Dodger lifer. He's going to end up maybe the best pitcher they've ever had, especially now that the whole World Series thing is gone. How much do you think what Turner has meant to this team is potentially going to weigh into the negotiations with bringing him back? Because he ended up losing money, due to the shortened season and all that stuff. This is his last opportunity to get paid, and he's, I think, 36. Correct?
Yep, 36.
He's getting up there. This is his last opportunity for something like that. And there will be a demand for him. And do you think the Dodgers would be willing to pay a bit over market value just to make sure that they keep him around?
See, I don't know. And I do think I think we're understating a little bit how much he meant to this team and how much he means, even in terms of the Clayton Kershaw level. He was the glue guy, or he is the glue guy, whatever you want to call him. He has the most home runs in postseason history for the Dodgers. He has the most hits in postseason history for the Dodgers. He is by far, he was the heart and soul of that team.
Sure.
Everything was built around Justin Turner. Now, to be fair, he is 36 years old. His defense did decline pretty heavily over the last couple of years, and especially last year. And, while the bat just wasn't the same power that he had there. Now, here's the thing. You think that he's going to be under demand. I'm not sure how much demand there really is for him. I mean, a 36-year-old third baseman with declining defensive skills, he's not really got the offensive power to really be a DH either in the American League. So unless they have
really, that's interesting.
Even if they have the DH in the National League, maybe there's something there. But the DH is specifically usually for a guy that is going to come in and get you jacks, right? They're going to hit
people who
runs.
literally don't own gloves.
Right, pretty much, exactly. So is the demand going to be there? I think I heard something about the Blue Jays at one point being interested, but I don't even know if that's going to be a good spot for them. You might be better off going with somebody young that has the tools to be offensive and defensive player for you. So I understand why the Dodgers want 2 years from Turner. 36 to year 38, totally understand it. Turner saying, I want 4 years. I mean, you want to pay him till he's into his 40s just because of what he meant for the team. I get it, but you got your ring. You got a ring for it with us too. So it's tough, especially when you're going to be blocking somebody that's going to be that's somebody that could possibly be coming up from the minor leagues for the Dodgers, signing somebody big. I know Jeff Passan was talking about how if they don't re-sign Justin Turner, then they can possibly bring in DJ LeMahieu to play third instead of playing second. So there's a lot of things that could go on still. I'm not sold on it.
Okay. Speaking also of guys that could be brought up, do you think this coming year is the year that Gavin Lux finally plays, like on a regular basis?
Well, because those two things are probably related, aren't they?
Well, but I ask in part because I'm curious about this, and it's something I know Dodger fans have been waiting for a while. And I remember you and I having conversations about this, Greg, over the years, but also too, like the longer Lux goes, even recognize he's only, I think, 23.
Yeah,
the longer he goes, though, as this hot prospect that doesn't actually come up, I think the more his value starts to potentially go down. Like when you get talked up this much and you don't actually end up seeing the field, even recognizing how stacked the Dodgers are, it starts to hurt his value a little bit, and it probably starts to shake his confidence.
Well, think about it this way. I'm going to say this. I am a little bit down on Gavin Lux. I don't know if I fully believe that he's the guy that the Dodgers are hoping he's going to become. Still young, not going to just cancel him right now. But think about this. He's had 2 years to basically take that position, take that second base, and just grab it and make it his for the long term. Yeah. Instead, we've been watching Chris Taylor and Kike Hernandez playing second base, and sometimes Max Muncy, because that just made more sense and they were playing better. And look, Chris Taylor has been playing pretty well, and so has Kike. But is that the guy that you were expecting to be your everyday second baseman for the next 10 years? Probably not. Gavin Lux has had the chance. He seems to be the guy that's stuck between AAA and the majors, that 4A guy, and he just can't figure it out.
It doesn't seem like he's had I didn't know. Lux most likely, is that true? I didn't know that. Maybe he did. I don't know.
Blue Goon is usually a guy that follows just as well. Yeah,
I trust Blue Goon.
As you should.
And so, but like, there's not been a 100 game stretch where Gavin Lux was the starting second baseman. I mean, you can talk about guys having chances and right, but I mean, baseball is not a game where, you can take, well, he had 15 games to do this or 10 games or whatever. Like, generally speaking, if you're going to settle into something, particularly as a young player, you need 50 games, 75 games, 100 games to do that. And I'm not here to say he's that good, he's that bad, but I don't think he's had that opportunity is all I'm saying.
No, and you're not wrong. He hasn't really fully had the opportunity, but I mean, you can see it. You can see when you're watching him at the plate. He looks timid at the plate. He doesn't look like the guy that was destroying baseballs in AAA. Like, he was batting like 380 with like some gigantic on-base percentage and just destroying baseballs nonstop. And it looked like, oh my God, this kid is just going to come up and he's going to just take off. Unfortunately, he came up here. He hit a home run or two when he came up. Then he hit one in the postseason and then didn't do a dang thing after that. I don't know. The game seems just a little bit too fast for him, and it seems like other pitchers have kind of already figured him out a little bit. So I'm just a little bit worried on. I
like him because he sounds like a character from Blade Runner. That's part of the reason I am into Gavin Lux.
It's a great name.
It is a great name.
Great baseball name. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I was looking up like the rankings and of the best teams in baseball, and like 4 of the 5 are in the National League. Like, it's not going to be an easy sled this year. Atlanta, who should be noted, almost beat the Dodgers.
Should have.
And then you add, right, you're right. And then they add, you add New York to that, and an owner worth $14 billion and all that. So if the Dodgers don't win this year, why? Like, what will have happened? Like, what went wrong? Like, where are they potentially short? Is it the closer thing and they re-signed Trinan, but Kenley?
So that's the kind of the crazy thing that baseball has changed to. And so I don't know if there is an actual spot that they're having some issue with, but the closer role this is not what Andrew Friedman wants. This is not how he plays the closer role. He doesn't have roles for his relief pitchers. And so I think we as fans are so much think of 7th inning guy, setup guy, closer. And that's how baseball works. 7, 8, 9. Those are the 3 innings. But that's not how baseball works anymore. And that's not how Andrew Friedman's mind works. Kenley Jansen is going to go in when Andrew Friedman and Dave Roberts feel like the best place for him is.
Right, but my point being, though, it makes a difference if they think that inning is the 6th. And it's because it's 5-1 Dodgers, and they don't want to put him in a high leverage situation. Like, that's when you start to it starts to become kind of revelatory.
And this team, by the way, has not been, I think, shy or subtle about making it clear when they trust you in those high leverage situations and when they have, like, for a long time, we were waiting for Julio Urias. Like, are they ever going to actually put him out there when it mattered? And in this postseason, the answer is yes. Yes, they did. But it took a long time. Like, in 2019, I didn't even understand why he was on the playoff roster, because they were clearly afraid to use him, and he was just taking up a spot. And they were pretty unsubtle about making it clear they did not trust Urias. Clearly, that's changed, but it's starting to become clear they don't trust Jansen quite the way they used to.
When are they going to let Gavin Lux close games?
But when it comes to Urias, like, you got to understand that Urias also was coming off of an injury where he was gone and it wasn't even Tommy John. He was out for, a year and a half. He was out for a really long time. So to just throw him out there in a game, it was weird that he was even on the roster. I remember having conversations with both of you being like, I don't think he should even be on this roster.
His inclusion in the 2019 World Series made no sense to me whatsoever, especially as it was going on. I'm like, they're not using him.
Yeah, because they just weren't ready for him, and he wasn't ready. And maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But whatever happened, there was a lot of bad decisions that were made in the 2018 World Series against the Red Sox.
2019,
that's all right.
2019 playoffs, whichever one, they weren't.
2019 playoffs, they lost in the first round to the Washington Nationals in Game 5, and I was at that game. It was terrible. But Urias was just another one of these guys that he's a starter. He's not a closer. So as much as he went out there in this last World Series and just dominated for innings at a time, he's a starter. That is not a closer. He is a starter, and they're going to use him as a starting pitcher. That was the idea that they've always had. A lot of us fans want him to be that closer. Like, oh, look what he did. He closed out games. Well, he's a starter. He's going to go 6, you're hoping 7 innings at some point. So, I mean, relief pitching is just such a weird thing to be worried about just in general, because it changes from year to year to year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like Blake Trinan was great this last year, but the year before that he was terrible.
Absolutely.
The year before that he was great, but the year before that he was trash. Like,
well, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. There's a pattern, right?
Starting to sense a pattern. But like, okay, so I have 2 questions here. First of all, is it possible that Dustin May still hasn't gotten a haircut throughout the pandemic? I would like to see like him go out with like a giant braid sort of in the back, like that just flies around, very Norse-like, if that's possible. So
most likely.
What's reasonable from him, and then what's reasonable from David Price? Oh, by the way, who is still on the team and like in theory is like your 3rd starter or something, or 4th starter.
That's what you're assuming, right? But this Dodger team already has 6, 7 starters that they're going to go with. So you probably got to imagine that, especially I believe they changed the IL. It's no longer 10 days, going back to a 15 days. So they can't, mess around with it like they've been doing for the last couple of years. But I think David Price you're probably going to see maybe 15 games out of him. If he gets to 20, like, wow, that's a great season for him. I bet you they hold off on him. They let him just kind of play that 6-7 man rotation where he just kind of comes in every once in a while, and he really doesn't get his really starts amping up around August, September. So he's ready for the postseason.
What about Cody Bellinger? How concerned are you about that shoulder and, the Dodgers' ability for him to start slowly, or him maybe just not having the typical strength that he has?
Yeah, well, see, Cody, he's had some shoulder problems for a couple of years now. Remember, he dove in the outfield,
yeah,
and he hurt himself, and at first base, and he dove and he hurt himself. And so he's been having those shoulder injuries, and then popping out the subluxation that he's had a couple times. And
nice.
Shoulder. You like that word?
Job. I like that. That was good.
Do you remember who else had a subluxation?
I don't remember.
Andrew Bynum.
Oh, that's right.
Andrew Bynum, that was his big thing. That was the first, I believe, of his big injuries was the subluxation.
Yeah, it's never really totally the same after that. And that's why he had that light surgery on it, Bellinger. But look, I'm hoping. I gotta hope that he is one of these guys that is going to come back and he's going to be healthy and he's going to be ready to go and he's going to look like he's back in his 2018 form where he was it was 2019 actually, the 2019 form where he was the MVP and he went crazy in that first half of the season. If he doesn't, he'll move him down in the lineup. Roberts will move him down the lineup, and you still have Mookie Betts. You still have Corey Seager. You still have Max Muncy. Like your team is still pretty much set for what's going to be happening there. Will Smith is still the best catcher in baseball right now.
What's funny actually is Bellinger. I mean, obviously, it makes a difference to the Dodgers if. Yeah, I just tweeted out on the show, you were sort of picking nits on the Dodgers and this and that. Is Cody Bellinger's shoulder is not actually a nit. That's a bigger thing than just picking nits. But what's crazy about Bellinger is he's so good defensively.
Yeah.
That even if he is a diminished hitter, he's still incredibly valuable. I mean, he arguably won them the World Series with his glove last year. Yeah, that's how good he was. Some of those catches were spectacular. Hit between him and Mookie.
Yeah, it happens all the time, and he just makes the right play in the outfield over and over and over again. So what was it? It was Game 4, right? Was it Game 4 or Game 5 that the Tampa Bay Rays got that hit that dropped in front of Chris Taylor, and then Taylor booted it, and they had the winning run from Rosarena come home to score. Cody Bellinger's out there in center field. That play probably doesn't happen because of how great he is at defense. It makes a gigantic deal because look at what you're looking at in that outfield now. Now you're looking at Mookie and his Gold Glove abilities in second base or in right field, which he won another Gold Glove and Silver Slugger. Then you have Cody Bellinger with Gold Glove in center field, and then whoever you want to put in that left field is still going to be fine. AJ Pollock used to be a center fielder.
Oh, Bird Bones.
Birdbone's kept together last year.
Fine.
He stayed
They didn't
healthy.
play him all the time, but
Viva la Birdbones. Bellinger, by the way.
There's a 0% chance of that happening, by the way, this year.
No, I hate to say it. It feels like cruel, but I wouldn't count on it. Bellinger is one of those guys that, like, you really can tell grew up around baseball. Yeah. Because he's so smart in the way he makes adjustments across the field, the different positions he plays. He can basically just do whatever you ask of him. I mean, he really, you can tell, just understands the game at a really young age. He came in with that knowledge.
Yeah, no, he absolutely did. I mean, it was his dad, Clay Bellinger. So he just understands the game. He understands where it needs to be. Defense gets very, very underrated when it comes to a baseball team. And the fact that the Dodgers had a very good defensive team all the way around. On the infield, Corey Seager was fantastic at shortstop last year. It does not get enough credit for what he did there after he was having problems. If that team wasn't as good as it was defensively, you probably don't see the same. Maybe they don't win another World Series. If they're that good defensively again this year, and they're hitting the ball like they probably should be hitting the ball this next year, I really don't see much issue coming out from the offense.
Do you think they'll make the playoffs?
No. They're going to be below 500.
With the expanded thing. Does it matter?
Do you need to check the zips first before you answer?
Zips.
It's the PECOTA projections. That's the one you need to see. The PECOTA projections.
Does it matter like what they do with the DH? Do the Dodgers need to adjust their lineup, their thinking, like who they bring in, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, they'll probably keep doing the same thing that they're doing, even if the DH does end up being in the National League, which I assume it will at this point.
Right, at this point.
Yeah, at this point, I assume it will. But either way, they're not going to go after that big bopper to be your center field, to be your DH, because they're going to want to change that out from day to day. It really helps when you can play Austin Barnes at catcher for his defensive abilities and still play Will Smith at the DH spot, like they did plenty of times in the World Series and even the last, I think, last couple games, because of how good he has been, how good one is defensively and one is offensively. So I don't think they're going to go away from their style of play. They're going to stick to that and not go after like the David Ortiz type guys.
So Greg, want to show you something. I want to show you something in terms of just, a little bit of scorekeeping we've been doing around here, a little bit of bragging rights that I think you'll enjoy. Oh, look at this.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Late night happy hour appearances.
Let's go.
Greg Bergman 4, Steve Mason 1.
I mean, this is a blowout at this point, right?
Oh, it's a blowout. Let me tell you something. You feel free to pass this along to Mace. Your viewership numbers more than holding their own, Greg.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're doing very nicely. So you should you should let Steve know that.
Yeah, well, it was a little surprising, sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying we saw this coming. I'm just saying that it happened. So you should let Steve know that
your mom had so many computers that she could log into at once.
If you had a camera inside of her house right now, you would see how many different devices were watching this.
Yeah, she's Hugh Jackman in Swordfish.
Right, exactly. That's a very underrated movie too, by the way. Some really good scenes in that.
Yeah. Love Swordfish. Makes no sense whatsoever.
None.
It's awesome.
0 sense, but Halle Berry. Whew.
Now, oh yeah. But the good thing though is that one scene where we're all thinking of and referring to wasn't gratuitous at all.
No,
totally
not even.
This is the best part
just
of
one
it.
Of these like, oh hey.
They actually paid her extra for it. Like basically they worked it out. It was like, all right, we want you to go topless very momentarily. Here's a little extra money. I think she's just like, all right, whatever. But it's my understanding that there was a little bit of extra money that went into that. And in terms of money to actual visibility ratio, Halle Berry came out way ahead in that.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Because it really wasn't that much.
No, what is like 3 seconds?
Yeah, and she probably had done a topless scene at that point anyway.
For you to say it's not your boobs. I mean, she can make her choice. And I'm not trying to like shame her for being naked in a movie or something. It's like this happens, but it's very eeasy for the two of you to just sort of casually say it's not a big deal. That's not your chest.
Man, these people. These people have not forgotten, Greg. Sausage Jeans is trash for trying to ban Michael Thompson. Shout out to the Cam brothers.
Yeah, Mason keeps bringing it up over and over again on the show. It's kind of ridiculous. I think he's a little jealous.
Radio audiences are very strange because they both at the same time remember everything and keep track of nothing.
Yes,
because we still like I had a day. I remember the day that I kept getting angry emails, and you might even be like, but like all this stuff, and like somebody calls up because they thought I was Trudell, like it was like they thought it was Mike on air. We still get things. Oh yeah, I love listening to you guys on the station. Do you?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember who I am?
Paying close attention. I mean, thank you, but do you? Radio's weird that way.
It is.
It'll come as no shock to you, Greg, that we're working our next appearance with Mace to get him up to 2. But it's required some massaging and scheduling because Mace is the one West Coast guest that we've had so far that is requiring pre-taping.
Get out of here
without a work conflict. It's like there are a couple West Coast people that we've had to pre-tape with, but it's because like they're NBA people. And they have to watch like 11 games at once, and they just can't do the thing live. Mace has nothing work related that he has to do at night. It's just too late for him.
All right, let's be honest here, okay? If you try and text Mace past 6 o'clock, he's not gonna answer you. It's just not gonna happen. So, I mean, even if you text, let's change.
By the way, he's on the air at 6.
No, he's not on the air at 6.
Oh, I forgot. Yes.
Yeah, we've changed.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah, I forget too, and I'm on after that. But there's at 4 o'clock, his show ends. You cannot get a hold of him after that. It's over. It's done. He has already gone. He sat down. He's got his pura yesca going. He is in good shape. So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, come on, man. It's for you guys. It's totally different.
Right. I mean, we're asking you to stay up to 11 o'clock like once every 6 months, and it's apparently a really big ask.
He really asked you to pre-tape? Like, come on.
He didn't.
Come on, man.
Not ask us to pre-tape.
He said, "I'll only do it if I pre-tape."
He requested.
The word only was not specifically said. I would say it was implied. It was not necessarily
strongly encouraged.
Right. Well, I guarantee you that number next to my name goes to a 5 before that one changes to a 2 from in front of Mason.
It's a decent.
Yeah, we have a game that we want to get to, and just a couple other things to touch on. But before we do that, I grew up, as did Andy, in St. Louis. I just detested Tommy Lasorda. I mean, I viscerally disliked Tommy Lasorda, both because, there was, moments where the Dodgers and Cardinals were rivals, and all that stuff. And then, and I didn't like the Slim Fast commercials. There's just nothing about the guy that I liked.
Slim Fast commercials were great.
No, they weren't. I'm like, just shut up, you pasta eating bastard. Like, I wasn't a fan, and I wasn't supposed to be because I wasn't here.
You were a Cardinal fan. Sure.
Exactly.
Where are you going with this, Brian?
What I want, though, is the perspective.
I'd like you to reach this point.
No, the point is not to flag on the recently dead.
Because what I want is your statement like that's the setup.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm the wrong audience. So what I want is a better perspective of what a Dodger, somebody who is steeped in the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers. Always admired the organization, but
I just had to ignore the 70-something years that Tommy Lasorda
was associated with. It turned out, like, when Lou Holtz left Notre Dame, it turned out I didn't hate Notre Dame. I just hated Lou Holtz.
No, I hate both.
Right. I mean, I'm kind of with Andy.
I really hate both.
I still don't like Lou Holtz. Different reasons now, but so you talk about that. Just explain that, as somebody who is grew up in this and for whom the Dodgers are an institution. What did Tommy represent?
Tommy represented the Dodgers. He was the Dodgers. When you think about the Dodgers, you think one of the very first things that come to your mind is Tommy Lasorda. To put it one way, is that my brother is kind of like you guys, not huge baseball fans. I mean, you guys like baseball, you follow it, you were Cardinals fans, the whole deal. My brother's from LA. He only watches the Dodgers when they're in the playoffs. His memory, when he thinks about the Dodgers, and I'm the same way, our thought goes to the same thing. When you think of Tommy Lasorda, you think of him in the 1988 World Series after Kirk Gibson's home run, running out of the dugout with his hands raised in the air, fully straight up in the air, running out there because how excited he was. He bled blue. He was a Dodger from start to finish in his life. He cared nothing about anything except for the Dodgers, and he was the nicest guy. As much as you may not have liked him, you could walk right up to him, ask him for a picture. He'd take a picture with you. He would start telling you stories about things that were happening. He would sign anything that you wanted to sign. He was a consummate professional and loved everything about what was happening here in LA. He embodied LA. The Lakers are very much LA. So are the Dodgers. When you think about the Dodgers, it changes to what you see here. LA is a very Latino area. And they just fill right in with the Dodger community, and especially with Tommy Lasorda, bringing in Fernando Valenzuela. All of these things that he did were all fantastic. And so Tommy Lasorda, to me specifically, was on the same level or just right there with Vin Scully. Those two are the pinnacle of Dodgerness for me.
When you look at him as a manager, what were the characteristics that you think stood out the most in terms of the reason that he had so much success?
He was a hard ass.
He had a lot of talent.
Well, of course, there was a lot but I mean, that 1988 team was not overly talented by any means. They weren't supposed to even be all that great. But he was a hard ass, but he also just got along. He was like that guy that was the player's coach, but also the coach, the guy that, he was like a Dave Roberts that could get along with all of you guys, but he also could get in your face and tell you like, hey, tighten it up, figure it out. Like he would play around with you, but he would also get on your ass when he needed to. So he just was able to balance that very, very well. And he just was just an easy guy apparently to get along with. So, I mean, look at all of the different things that you're seeing from people coming out. Oral Hershiser coming out, telling stories. Steve Sachs coming out and telling stories. You have all these different guys. Steve Garvey telling all these amazing stories. If you listen to ESPN 710 the other day, on the day that he passed, you would have seen Steve Mason talking to all these different people, and they were all telling just amazing Tommy Lasorda stories. He's going to be severely missed, especially sitting in that exact same seat every single game down at Dodger Stadium.
It's interesting that he ends up. It's interesting he ends up passing almost a year after Kobe. You're within like a few weeks of it, and it's like you really get reminded what it means to LA is a city with a ton of sports history, and it's had a ton of people who've meant a lot to the different franchises that they played for. But then there's this level of people that really were truly iconic when it came to their organizations. And, Kobe was obviously one of those people with the Lakers. And then, you end up seeing Tommy Lasorda with the Dodgers. I mean, he's one of those people that is really synonymous with the organization. Like it's very difficult to imagine the organization just the last 60 to 70 years without him. I mean, it feels like it would be something.
It goes back to what is it, like 50 whatever? Like I can't remember the exact.
I don't know the exact date,
but yeah, 1950 something. It's insane.
Right. It's we were talking about a lot about it when you're talking about Kobe and with Tommy, is that Kobe was just so sudden, but what he meant to the city was basically was very much on the same level as what Tommy meant to the city of Los Angeles, what he meant to the Dodgers. They're very, very similar in those. It's just we kind of were able to see this happening over the 93 years of his life that Tommy we're like, you're almost like ready, like, okay, I get it. You just got out of the hospital. I understand. It was his time. He wanted to go to Blue Heaven. And there's a great story that he told, and if you're looking for it on YouTube, I don't remember how to get to it, but he talks about how he wants to be buried under the pitcher's mound at Dodger Stadium because he wants to, if there is a young lefty on that's struggling, to, hey, just settle down, and the lefty will look around. He's like, what's going on?
Find that if I would find that were I a lefty having trouble settling down, the ghostly voice of Tommy Lasorda being projected from underneath the pitching mound would not settle me down. I would not like that. That would make me very uncomfortable.
Probably not. But Tommy's sitting there talking, but he's so open with that he talked about how he wanted to basically haunt the pitcher's mound at Dodger Stadium. And I think that's fantastic. And that's how much he loved the Dodgers and what he meant. I don't know. I just feel like he's very much on that same Kobe type level for the city, but we were able to see it kind of happen and progress instead of sudden.
I just wonder if there's a way for him to make his presence felt at Dodger Stadium without necessarily getting into the
Why
head.
are we going to beat the fuck out of everybody?
Like a statue or something, you want to do that?
Well, I mean, look, on one hand, it could be a great weapon for the opposing pitcher because that guy has to go out there too. And,
he's like freaked out.
Looking
on his feet. Yeah.
I mean, and, especially in high leverage games, the psychological warfare, anything goes. But I have to say, if I were a pitcher on the mound and I started hearing Tommy,
the trash can thing, we know the trash can thing is crossed the line. So, what is if you knowingly unleash a ghost?
Like the paranormal activity?
Right. Is that worse than is the trash can? Is that okay? Like, what are the rules about that?
I think that's okay. Did you ever see the movie The Sixth Man with Marlon Wayans? It was absolutely it worked then.
Well, okay. Here's where I think
why
the
it
line
doesn't work in baseball.
Here's where I think the line is.
Tommy in the outfield.
Here's where I think the line is, and where the Dodgers could be off, the Dodgers would be off the hook, as opposed to the Astros, who've become, forever the lion stealing, cheating Astros.
Yeah.
The Astros were in on that whole thing. Like that was a cheating scheme that they manufactured. I don't think the Dodgers, one way or the other, can control Tommy haunting the mound. Like, that's really up to Tommy Lasorda. Like, they may be the beneficiaries of it, but I don't think you can really say at that point the Dodgers organization is cheating. Like, I don't think there's any way that if another team found out about this and reported it to the league office, like, what are they going to do?
Well,
like, I don't think you sound crazy. But I mean, what's Rob Manfred supposed to do if Tommy Lasorda's haunting the opposing team?
Rob Manfred can't do a damn thing because he didn't do anything to the Astros. So if he did it for paranormal activity for the Dodgers, he should be fired immediately.
Well, that part is true.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers are owed this. I'm just saying, I don't think there's anything Rob Manfred could do disciplinary-wise if he wanted to. What's he supposed to do?
I mean, he can get a priest and kind of say something about the mound. I have no idea, but he can't do anything. It's paranormal. You can't.
Is he who? Like, you start looking around different organizations. Like, who would be the best people for this? Like the people best suited for haunting the opposition in the most literal sense.
I mean, it'd have to be managers, right? Mostly managers, like Sparky Anderson in Detroit. Wouldn't that be, the right place for him to be?
I will say this: the player in baseball that scared me the most in terms of my actual interaction with him, obviously living, was one time during spring training, and I don't remember if this was in I think it was in Florida, but I can't remember for sure.
Probably Florida. I mean, let's be honest.
But I went up to one of those lockers where Kyle Farnsworth, who is a big guy and also like a martial artist, like he's a legitimate,
scary guy.
Yeah, legitimate,
and kind of crazy.
Yes. I walked up to him, and his back is facing to me. As I went up to him and approached him, I couldn't see what he was doing. And I was just saying, excuse me, Kyle, do you have a second? He turns around, and there's this plate of food sitting in his lap. And he looks at me and goes, "I'm eating." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to die."
You just run away?
I was profusely apologizing. I was so fucking scared. Oh my God. I thought
please enjoy your meal.
He looked so angry at me, just like saying, "Excuse me, do you have a I can't imagine what his reaction would be to somebody who really knowingly crossed a line, because I mean, that was deathly scary in that moment. And that was a pretty innocuous interaction. Like, I can't imagine that would scare the shit out of me if he was the one haunting me.
No, so
That
you
would
want
be
the
frightening.
scary guy. Okay, see, I was trying to think of like what would be the what would be the right guy to be there. But yeah, no, Kyle Farnsworth would be freaky. Right guy to be there. But yeah, no, Kyle Farnsworth would be freaky. Eric Gagne would probably be a pretty scary guy to be down there.
Still with us.
Well, is he
Still with us.
using?
He's
Is
still
he
with us.
juicing?
Well, if he was, he's
Because if he's off the juice, he's not as scary. I got to be honest.
Anybody off the juice is probably not as scary.
What does Ghost Eric Gagne have delivered to the stadium?
We don't want to know what he's having delivered.
That's
Everybody else at the Dodgers on the Dodger team was finding out about that year.
That more than anything else really speaks to just how much these players knew. Nobody was doing a damn thing about steroids. When you have your steroids delivered to the stadium, you're clearly not worried. Yeah. Got some steroids for Mr. Kanye. Who wants to sign for these? Like, no, you're not worried. You're clearly not worried.
Delivery of some performance-enhancing drugs. Is anybody who wants to sign for performance-enhancing drugs?
Come on down. Next in line, please. Number 5.
I love it. Like, I'm sure some other players like, oh, I'll sign for it. What's the big deal?
Yeah. They were all just like, oh, this is for Gagne? Whatever.
Delivered by a guy who spells it BASE space BAL.
I mean,
it was rampant, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really out there when you're having it delivered. I mean, that's as just brash and open as it could possibly be.
No, yeah. No, what was going on then was just, it was insane. I mean, everybody on the team and everybody, like the Mitchell report came out because of that. And now we look back at that, especially after this whole Houston Astros thing is like, was it that bad?
Well, this, by the way, are we talking about Kyle Farnsworth here? I don't know if he was ever on a list or not, but like Blugan pointed out, like Kyle Farnsworth was enormous. Like he was
gigantic.
He was, and I looked it up. He was 6'4", 230 at a time when, like, when you were starting getting used, like pitchers especially were not 6'4", 230. Like none of them.
Now you tight end.
Yeah, but like, there are guys like half the Yankees lineup is 6'4", 230.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you look up Aaron Judge, I bet Aaron Judge is right around there.
Oh, Aaron Judge is 6'7", I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a gigantic dude too. So I mean, that's just who they are.
But like no, back in 2002,
6'7", 282 for Aaron Judge.
Fuck me, that is really big. But like 282, no, there were not pitchers who were 6'4", 230 back then. Like that was not a thing.
No,
and I'm not trying to accuse Kyle Farnsworth of cheating, although he was salty.
I don't think he needed to cheat.
Not every angry, irritable person is a steroid user. Some people are just angry and irritable.
To the best of my knowledge, Jeff Kent wasn't using it all, and that guy was always pissed off.
He was very angry.
He was always mad about something.
If you were a pitcher and you were 6'3", 6'4", you were some big dude, like David Wells size guy. Like you were either like 200 something pounds that was just like fat, and not like Kyle Farnsworth who was jacked at that time.
Jamarcus McQueen. I just DoorDash some Balco. It'll be here in 40 minutes.
Like it's a name brand.
You can follow it. You can actually watch the car going to Dodger Stadium. Yeah.
All right, so as we mentioned before, we've got a game, and we were talking before about everything Tommy Lasorda meant to the Dodgers and just the legend that he created with that organization over 70-plus years. And I wanted to do a game around Tommy Lasorda, but I had to do this in a very specific way because otherwise it would be just
unfair.
Yeah, it would be a landslide if it was about Tommy Lasorda and baseball and the Dodgers. Greg would crush Brian. So what I did is I took a stroll through Tommy Lasorda's IMDb page.
Oh, no.
And we are going to do some Tommy Lasorda IMDb trivia. Greg, you've been through these games before. They're not going to be your name is your buzzer. You're both going to get the opportunity to answer everything. So that is 1/10 of a point for Brian. Right. We begin. Which show did Tommy Lasorda make his scripted television debut, according to IMDb? Tommy Lasorda, by the way, has one hell of an IMDb page. Which show did he make his scripted television debut? Was it on Chips, Fantasy Island, Heart to Heart, or Police Squad? Brian goes first. By the way, he appeared on
the idea. Was he actually on Fantasy Island?
He appeared on all
the idea of him being on Fantasy Island.
He appeared on all 4 of these shows.
I want to know when
No
the episode of the latest one of this ended. Was it like 1985? The last
The
time.
the last
I was born in '83.
off the top of my head, the last show Tommy Lasorda appeared on, I believe, was an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond in 1997.
My understanding is he played Lee Atwater in Little Devil.
All right. So is Brian going first on this one?
Yes, Brian's going first. Chip, Fantasy Island, Heart to Heart, or Police Squad?
Fantasy Island.
So you're saying Fantasy Island?
Yes.
Right.
I'm going to LeVar Ball that into existence.
I'll go with Heart to Heart.
Oh, Brian, speaking it into existence.
Yeah, jeez.
Fantasy Island, he was in a 1978 episode called Superstar/Salem, appeared alongside Steve Garvey, Fred Lynn, and the Brett brothers. Also, Leslie Nielsen and Gary Burkhoff, who played Radar O'Reilly on MASH.
Side note, every time his name comes up, I do feel it's necessary to mention how different eras have been. Steve Garvey was a sex symbol.
Like he was
in a big way. Steve Garvey, we lived in an era where Steve Garvey was a sex symbol.
Okay.
Villachez was so over Tommy Lasorda.
In 1980, Tommy Lasorda appeared on an episode of Hee Haw. I did not expect to learn this, but it's true.
Did he tell a joke?
I don't know.
Okay.
The IMDb,
he was good at telling jokes. Yeah.
The IMDb was not that. Apparently, he did a shit ton of TV. Somebody liked him.
He was a funny guy.
How many total seasons did Hee Haw run?
15, all right.
15, 18, 23, or 26? Greg goes first.
There's a lot of hee-haw, even at its lowest number. That's a lot of hee-haw.
I can't imagine it's in those high 20s because no shows run that long.
15, 18, 23, 26.
I'm going to go 18.
Brian.
I'm going to say 21.
That's not an option.
23 is on there. You can say 23.
Yeah.
26. It was first run on CBS 1969 to 1971, then in syndication 1971 and 1993, then TNN, the Nashville network, Brian, 1996 to 1997. So Brian's still up 1-0.
Tommy right for a show on TNN.
I know you did. In 1980, a big year for Tommy Lasorda on TV. He also appeared as himself on the Tony Tennille Show, a variety show hosted by Tony Tennille of the Captain and Tennille fame.
Yes, okay, got it.
Love Will Keep Us Together, Muskrat Love. She was, of course, married to the captain. What is the captain's real name? Daryl Dragon.
Sorry, Greg. You're done.
Yeah, you actually know this one.
I do know this. Yeah, absolutely.
Daryl Dragon, Brad Bird, Lawrence Lamb, or Harold Hawk? Brian goes first.
Brad Bird is a director. His name.
You did not have to tell Greg that. He may not have known.
His name is Daryl Dragon.
Well, I'm going to go with him.
I mean, I don't know if that's
this one.
I don't know if that's his Christian name, but his name is Daryl Dragon.
Yeah, I'll go with Brian.
It is actually Daryl Dragon, and that is
I got a point.
You can call him the captain, but his name is Daryl Dragon.
Tony Tennille, by the way, sung the national anthem that year at the 1980 All-Star Game at Dodger Stadium.
She knew a guy.
Tommy Lasorda appeared in the sequel to Homeward Bound, where two lovable dogs and a cat get lost.
I saw that.
And they go on an adventure. He was in the sequel, which was called Homeward Bound 2, Lost in Blank. What city were they lost in?
Lost in an Italian restaurant.
Were they lost in Boston, Maui, New York, or San Francisco? Greg goes first.
New York.
Brian.
Nobody ever calls a movie Lost in Boston. I'm going to say
it would rhyme, though.
It would. I'm going to say Maui.
They were lost in San Francisco, and Tommy Lasorda.
My God, I've seen this. How did I miss that question?
He voiced a dog.
So disappointing.
Voiced a dog named Lucky Lasorda. Which Rodney Dangerfield vehicle does Tommy Lasorda appear in? Meet Wally Sparks, Easy Money, Ladybugs, or Back to School? Brian goes first.
I know this answer, I think.
Ladybugs. Easy Money.
Pretty sure it's Ladybugs.
It is Ladybugs.
Yeah.
He appeared as a coach. I I forgot to write it down. He is a coach in
Yep.
Ladybugs.
I remember that movie.
Not a good movie, but
No.
he is in it.
Meet Wally Sparks, on the other hand, very funny movie.
I don't think I've ever actually seen that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. You should watch that one. I don't know if it holds up, but it was very funny.
I'm guessing it doesn't. Which WrestleMania did Tommy Lasorda appear in? WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, or he never appeared in a WrestleMania? Brian goes first.
Ooh, like a trick question?
Mm-hmm.
2,
3, 4, or none.
I'm going to say 3.
Greg.
I'm going to go 2 because his number was 2.
Greg, whatever the hell
Yeah.
rationale. He was in WrestleMania
Let's
2.
go.
You may recall that year. The main event was Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy, steel cage match for the WWF Heavyweight Championship. Tommy Lasorda.
Wait, what was it? It was Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy?
King Kong Bundy in a steel cage match.
All right, hold on one second. Okay, keep going. All right.
Tommy Lasorda apparently loved wrestling because he also appeared in an episode of WWE Raw in 1994 entitled Danger, Heartbreak Ahead. According to IMDb, which popular LA sports legend also appeared in this episode? I don't know whether or not they actually wrestled, just to put that out there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, Mike Piazza, or Eric Dickerson? Greg goes first.
Ooh.
Kareem, Shaq, Piazza, Dickerson.
What year was it?
1994.
Kareem, Shaq. Oh, God. I kind of want to go with Kareem, but the Mike Piazza connection makes a lot of sense. And he's got that mustache. I'm going to go Piazza.
I'll say
Brian.
Dickerson.
Oh, Greg, you should have trusted yourself. It's Kareem, which feels really odd, but very strange. But Kareem was there. It was an episode where the Bushwhackers took on Well Done, and the British Bulldog took on Jeff Jarrett, and there was a special King's Court featuring Shawn Michaels. Also, Gerald Ford appeared as himself. No word as to whether or not he wrestled. Which late-night talk show did Tommy Lasorda have the most appearances, according to IMDb? David Letterman, either incarnation, but taken separately, but either incarnation. The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Kimmel, or Arsenio Hall? Letterman, either incarnation, but taken separately. Leno, Kimmel, Arsenio Hall. Brian goes first.
I don't think this is the right answer, but I want to live in a world where it is. I want to know. I want to like believe that Tommy Lasorda appeared like 33 times on the Arsenio Hall show. I'm going with Arsenio Hall. They're the original Odd Couple.
I know he was on Letterman.
He's on all of these, by the way.
Yeah,
he was on all of these.
He was
There's no
definitely
trick question.
on, but I think isn't Leno out here? Wasn't Leno here in LA?
Yes.
Because of that, I think I'm going to go Leno.
It's Jimmy Kimmel. He was on 3 times with Jimmy Kimmel. He was twice with Letterman on either incarnation, twice with Leno, twice with Arsenio Hall.
Wow.
But 3 times with Jimmy Kimmel. Greg is up 3-2, but as luck would have it, randomly, this last
17
question is worth 2 points. So Brian has the opportunity to steal. Which classic cartoon did Tommy Lasorda lend his voice in? Bugs Bunny, the Pink Panther, the Smurfs, or Scooby-Doo? Bugs Bunny, Pink Panther, the Smurfs, or Scooby-Doo? Brian goes first.
I had a thought before this all happened.
I'm going to say Scooby-Doo.
See, I want to give you a chance. I was thinking Scooby-Doo also. That was where my first thought was.
Well, really, Greg
doing...
should have gone first. But that's
yeah, I should have. Yeah, but so it doesn't matter. I'll say something different just so there will be a winner. It was Scooby-Doo. What were the other 3?
Scooby-Doo, the Smurfs, Pink Panther, Bugs Bunny.
Man, I'm pretty sure it's Scooby-Doo because they always had athletes on. But I'll just say Bugs Bunny.
It's the Pink Panther. No. Tommy Lasorda did a voice of the Pink Panther. Yes. There's a lot that was really surprising about Tommy Lasorda's IMDb, including just how extensive it is. But Greg squeaks out the victory 3-2 on Tommy Lasorda trivia.
And
what happened?
Lost Brian,
Wow,
but yes.
Brian is a really bad loser.
Yeah, he's like, screw this. He beat me again. I'm out of here.
Brian
I won last time too.
Yeah, wow. Brian lately has been losing, so maybe this is he's starting to take this really difficult.
Yeah, he's just not very happy about it, but that's okay.
No, he is not.
That wasn't me leaving in protest. Mason. I was looking for. I wanted to see if I could find it.
His Pink Panther episode?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a deep cut. If you can manage to find Tommy Lasorda doing the Pink Panther in like 5 seconds on YouTube, my God, you're good at this.
The answer is no, I couldn't.
I can't hear you.
You can't.
I can't hear Brian. It's all broken up now.
Brian was attempting to find Tommy Lasorda's appearance on the Pink Panther, which feels awfully ambitious in about 5 seconds.
I hit the wrong button. It happens.
I got it.
But yeah, he was on the Pink Panther. Go figure. And like we talked about, more appearances on Kimmel than anything else.
Well, Andy, do you want to say goodbye then? Because Greg can't hear me.
I can hear it now. I got everything.
Okay.
I didn't find the Tommy Lasorda Pink Panther YouTube video. I tried.
It's hard to find.
Yeah.
Andy's right. It's hard to find. Dude, it was good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks, both of you. Thanks very much.
And we didn't even get into like the fact nobody's spending money because I guess people don't have any. I guess in baseball that's weird. But like for nothing happening, that was like a robust Dodgers conversation, the first one we've had this winter. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was fun. I mean, I'm sorry that I had to sound like a homer about the Dodgers real fast. And not so much
we sort of anticipated that might happen.
I wonder why.
You didn't actually shock us with that reaction, Greg. We've met you before.
Right, exactly. Well, I got to stay true to myself. You know what I mean? So
no, absolutely, man.
Look at this Jedi-looking guy.
Seriously, he looks like the Emperor right now.
I do.
Yeah,
it's a very Emperor look. Where
can that, or like I'm auditioning for an album cover on Spinal Tap?
Actually, you look like you're auditioning to do like a Unabomber movie,
or like I'm wearing. I kind of look like I'm wearing the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter.
There you go. Does it point up there?
It
has to drop over though. That's like
right.
Ooh, look at these fighting words from Blue Goon 82. Bergman is the most legit Dodger fan at the station.
That's just facts. Thanks, Goon. Yeah,
most legit Dodger fan and up 4-1 over Mason, the other big Dodger fan. So look at everything's coming up. Bergman, he won the trivia. It is all Greg Bergman. Where can people hear you most on the station?
You can hear me on. You can hear me the most, not as much as before, but Sedano and LZ from 4 to 7 p.m. right after Mason Island.
Cool. You enjoying working with those guys?
Yeah, it's good. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Everybody.
Are we still off the record?
On the record. Off the record.
Is this being recorded?
Off.
It's great.
They're fun. They're a lot of fun.
It's fantastic.
I will never say anything bad about anybody, except Mason. Maybe Mason. Although
I enjoy working with LV and George every weekday on 710 ESPN.
Yeah. That's exactly what I had written down.
It was excellent to see you.
You too, guys.
We will do this again. And coming up tomorrow, football with Kirk Morrison. We're just sticking around the station. Kirk Morrison, who's obviously part of the pre- and post-game show for the Rams, will be on breaking down the game we just saw and the game that we will see. And Wednesday, we're going to get back to wrestling. We were going to do this last week before events intervened. Bill Hanstock is going to join us on Wednesday, and we're pretty sure we know what's coming for the rest of the week, but we're just going to make sure we confirm everything, and then we'll tell you. In the meantime, yeah, exactly. Actually, it's better to just tell them who's coming.
It's truly not confirmed. We think it's happening, but it's not confirmed, and we don't want to put somebody out there or put ourselves out there.
Because Barack Obama is like a big deal.
Right. Unfortunately, the recent events in the country and that it might be difficult for a former president to come on with us, but he hasn't said no yet. We just haven't gotten a firm yes.
Still haven't figured out too if we have Joe Biden confirmed for the 20th. We're working on it, but we're not sure.
Would be the best day you could.
We're angling. He
That's
says he's
true.
busy. We're not sure. All right, we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Dank you, Nederland.